Yo, welcome back to the GM Podcast. I'm Miller.
I'm Gav.
And today, A. Miller is a champion. I'm the 2025 champion, man. Hey, look, my Eagles won that first. Thunder won, obviously, today. And it wasn't the same today, obviously. There's some stuff we're going to get into with this Game 7 that let the energy down a little bit. But nonetheless, this Thunder team deserves it. They've been the best team all year. They had a great Western Conference playoff run. We got to 3-3 with this great Indiana Pacers team, who we will get into this video, is a great team, and they shouldn't be slighted either. But let's get into the losing side first, actually. Let's talk about the Indiana Pacers and their season as a whole. I want to know what your biggest takeaway from that team is, particularly not just a specific player, but a team, because I know we both have high outlooks on that franchise right now.
I knew it was over when Haliburton went down on the fact that guys who are specialists like Obi Toppin, Aaron Nesmith, Ben Shepherd, all of these guys are relying on a Haliburton and sometimes a McConnell, but not a McConnell for that long. Yeah. Because McConnell just became a scorer, not even a facilitator at a lot of points. They rely on Haliburton to create for them. And you saw Obi Toppin when he can't have stuff created for him. He can't create on his own. He just doesn't have a deep bag when he has the ball in his hands. Yes. And I think that was the difference. Indiana didn't get any easy ones. Yeah. And then the 7-0 turnover ratio difference in the second half, in the third quarter. Oh, yeah, was just is what did it. That was the game. Exactly. And I think Shea didn't have his best offensive game. It wasn't the most efficient, but having 12 assists and only 1 turnover speaks a lot. The way he was turning the ball over a lot this series,
especially in Game 6.
A 12-1 assist turnover ratio, still getting about 27, 30 points. Like, that was huge. Yeah. And Jalen Williams, the numbers will lie to you because he didn't have a great game. No. And I think the 3 that won you this game, the 3 to 4 guys, is Chet on the defensive end, and then Dort and Caruso. Yes. Those are the 3 guys that really won you this game.
Absolutely. And then obviously championship.
Shea being your guy doing what he does. Yeah. Even, if your worst game is a little inefficient, 27 and 12 assists, I'm cool with that as a best player. And on the flip side of that, I don't want to hear, because I've been through this myself as a Celtics fan. Yeah. I don't want to hear the injury as a slight to OKC. Now, I know you said earlier, and you can talk about it later, but the way you would maybe rank this team compared to other champions, perfectly fine. But this doesn't take away that they controlled what they were supposed to control. Exactly. They did what they were supposed to do. Yeah. It would be different if they lost and Haliburton got hurt. Then it's like, that's bad.
That's an all-time collapse.
But, yes, he got hurt. But once again, they did what they were supposed to do. Absolutely. And I don't look at this game as like, I definitely think if Haliburton was playing, I'd give them a great shot. Yeah. But I don't look at it as like, an automatic win. So, I don't want anything to be taken away from the Thunder. And on the flip side, this Indiana team inspired me. Yes. Guys like TJ McConnell. It just shows that no matter at what level, if you buy in, and little intangibles and details, they always will matter in the NBA, no matter how stacked or talented a young or old roster is. Experience and little intangibles and all of these things are what makes teams successful. J-Dub doesn't win you a title. Shea doesn't win you a title. It's the Caruso guys. Yeah. It's the Lou Dort getting 4 offensive rebounds in the second half. Yes. That's what wins you championships. Especially Game 7s. Yes. And I think that was my key takeaway. Yeah. That Dort and Caruso need to stay. Yes. Yes.
I agree. And talking about Indiana, 100% agree with everything you said. And in my opinion, the Indiana Pacers in this season in particular are an argument against ring culture that has arisen, the conversation that has risen this past week about do rings, should they matter as much as they do? This particular season, the Indiana Pacers basically won a championship in my opinion. And I know that doesn't make sense in a way, but the way they did what they did, the way they almost used the power of friendship to get through this playoffs, hard work, effort, camaraderie, just like you said, guys buying in and to this elite style, elite coaching, like you said, and it's beautiful to watch. So ultimately they didn't get it done. But this is a team that needs to be looked back on in history for all kids out there, for everyone who's looking at playing basketball or sports the right way. This Indiana Pacers team should be the blueprint for that. And honestly, they deserve so much credit for how they performed in this postseason. Exactly. And that's
such an inspiring team. It is. And I can't remember the last team that won a title in any sport, whether it was football or that is as inspiring.
Yes.
As this Indiana Pacers team. I feel like the entire world, other than like OKC was and New York, was like, I feel like the entire world was on their back as fans.
Yes.
And I heard a lot of talks of if Indiana would have won, they'd be the worst champion ever.
No.
I'm going to go ahead and say they are one of the best runner-ups I've seen in the NBA.
Yes.
They're one of the best teams I've seen lose a championship.
Yes.
And I think that highly of this team. I think that highly of this coach. I think that highly of this point guard that got hurt in Game 7. All you had to see was the first 7 minutes. He had 9 points. He was about to have a game.
Yes.
Yes. And you hate to see guys like him, guys like Jason Tatum, get injured, out for a whole 12 months now, especially when they were both about to have extremely iconic games.
Yes.
Because at worst, Haliburton was going for 25.
Yeah.
Like, at worst. He was
on pace,
but it was probably gonna end up being one of those 39 and 11 games. Yes. I'm not gonna lie, that's what it was looking like it was going to be, and it's so sad to see that happen, especially to a guy like him that you root for. But it happens.
Yes,
and I think it's gonna get to a point where the same thing happened to KD. And my advice to any player, if you have a right calf strain, a left calf strain, if you have a calf strain, sit down.
Yes,
because as much as I thought the window was open for Indiana to go back next year with Boston now and all these teams like kind of taking a step back, even the Heat taking a step back. Now it looks like Orlando.
It looks like Orlando and New York are going to be the two teams that are fighting for that. And like you said, I just don't think soft tissue injuries are something to be played with
at all
when you can't control it. You can't wrap your calf muscle up in it and suppress it. All Tyrese did is probably got shot up with some horse tranquilizer before the game. And that's all he had, but it's not actually helping you. So like you said, the league is going to have to maybe step in, and when we see these calf strains, especially to our star players, and it costing them another year of basketball, someone has to step in and say, all right.
Maybe the league needs to clear you.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Yeah. But it's just, I hate to say it, and it sucks. And I said before Game 6, I said, I honestly just don't want Haliburton to play. I literally said that to my dad.
You did.
I said, I just don't want him to play. Like, I think for him, like, still go try to win, whatever. But for him, I call it quits. And after Game 6, it's like, okay, now he has to give it a shot.
And we talked about this as well. And this is just a little intricacy in gameplay. The way he catches the ball and is always ready to run and attack at every point in a triple threat, and his leg is literally in that position every time. Not gonna say it was bound to happen, but
it's more likely to happen to him than a lot of
people, because that's the position that he puts his body in. And once again, you hate to see it, and the worst part about all these things is exactly when they know. The excruciating pain of a champion at heart, going through an entire season, busting their ass, Jason Tatum having a 40 ball, proving his doubters wrong throughout the season, Tyrese Haliburton hitting 3 threes, people talking about his scoring, him proving people wrong, KD coming back through the injury, and they automatically know, boom, in one step, it could be done. And that's the saddest part about that. So our prayers are with you, Tyrese Haliburton, and
for sure, absolutely,
you put on a show this season, and you need to be held in an extremely high regard for that. Now moving to the Thunder. All right. Thunder, honestly, like you said, in this game, I didn't think offensively, this was another offensive game where it was like, what are we doing? Right? This style of offense, it's just not going to be as appealing to the eye as past champions, and that's fine, right? Because once again, people are going to try to degrade this championship as if we didn't play anybody the entire season, as if the refs were on our side the entire season, but it's not that. And if you want to use the injury thing, I told you this earlier, it reminds me of a 2015 Warriors championship where obviously Kyrie and Kevin Love didn't get hurt in the elimination game, but Kyrie and Kevin Love weren't there to fight with LeBron against those Warriors. And I do think if they were there, they would have won that series, but it doesn't matter, because the Warriors controlled what they were supposed to and finished it like they were supposed to. And we don't ever speak about that as much as we I mean, we shouldn't do that.
Yeah, so, I mean, it just, once again, it's, they control what they're supposed to control. I mean, people don't talk about the year Kevin Durant missed the whole year.
Exactly.
Like, of course his team would have been a contender, but he wasn't playing that year. Like, you know, people can, like, if we want to do that, then the Celtics should be favorites next year.
Yeah.
But, like, it doesn't make sense.
That's not the way it goes.
Yeah.
So, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander also capping off an extremely historic season. Finals MVP, scoring champion. Just an amazing season from top to bottom. And I think, honestly, now it can cap off as at least the top 3 guard season of all time, in my opinion.
Point guard,
yes.
I wouldn't, yeah.
I would say top 3 guard, but that's just me.
Yeah,
that's
I don't
me
know.
Personally.
Because then you start throwing in Jordans and Iverson.
The Steph one is the toss him up, in my opinion.
And even though he lost, the Iverson season
is iconic. Yes, for sure. But looking for, like, as far as the vibe of this game and how it went downhill, like, what do you think, and I'm just asking this, what do you think when we hop on social media tonight and tomorrow, what do you expect to see?
I think it'll just be displayed as, like, a Mickey Mouse ring in a sense. It'll be displayed as if they had Haliburton. It sucks, but they didn't.
Yeah.
And I would have, you know, I ain't gonna lie, it's a weak game 7 when we talk about.
It's a weird game 7 too.
Yeah, like it felt like a regular season game a lot of the game, and especially once Haliburton gone down.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna lie.
I mean, that's when it was.
Yeah, when Haliburton went down, it just instantly felt like a regular season game on a Tuesday night but it just was weird. Yeah. The vibes were weird. Yeah, I just think that, you know, it won't be people with a lot of ball knowledge, but there'll be people just kind of discrediting the Thunder when, you know, they did beat Denver in a game 7.
Yeah.
They did. Now, I do think
I have a feeling I know what you're about to say.
I do think from what I've seen, it, depending on your definition, I don't know if I can go dynasty with this team with the offensive limitations that I've seen. And you're about to pay Shai over $1 million per game, so that roster and that depth is only going to get worse.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I think I think they go back to back.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't see 3-peat, and I think after the back to back it'll be like done in a sense.
Yeah.
Which is nothing wrong. I mean, going back to back would be the first time in like 10 years.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Exactly. So there's nothing wrong with that, but yeah, I just think the offensive limitations and the way this roster is built. And especially when you win a ring or 2 rings, I don't see you going away from that style.
Absolutely.
And I don't see that style working from I see it working this year. I see it working next year. I don't see that style working with limited depth.
Yeah.
I think the reason why y'all's defense was so effective was because y'all could play 10.
Yeah.
Y'all could play 11 different guys at different times. So, but once again, I think y'all should be favorites going into next year. With a lot of guys who can knock y'all out, like the Houstons, maybe the Lakers, or maybe the Warriors if they get a piece for Kuminga. Definitely not like the Warriors when they got KD. Like, it wouldn't be a for sure ring next year for the Thunder at all.
Yeah.
But I would have y'all as favorites next year, and
Absolutely.
I think the ring it's a valid ring.
Yeah. I will say though, and this is a conversation that's going to be had, so we might as well have it. As a champion, where do we think they rank as far as the past, just say 25 years? And I'm gonna go ahead and say what we were saying during the game. First off, once again, we're talking about how we're not supposed to be discrediting OKC, and that's number one, and we are sticking by that. But that was
all that goes out the window when you talk about previous champions because they did the same thing.
Yes. But first off, that was a horrible Game 7 performance, in my opinion, for 3 quarters. And the third quarter is where you won that basketball game. And that's fine, right? Because you won the basketball game. But as far as champions that have won in the past, I'm not sure there's a single champion since 2010 that I can strongly put this team over right now.
Yeah, and they definitely would lose to all of the prime Tim Duncan.
All of the Spurs teams, all of the Heat teams, all of the Warriors teams. It would get interesting
with the Pistons.
The Pistons would be interesting, but that's 2004, so I'll say that as well.
That's what I'm talking about before.
Yeah, I would definitely say they're in the bottom echelon of champions, and they can still become an all-time team, but like you said, they have to win in the future. This cannot be the only ring you win. And it's crazy that we're talking about this because we're supposed to be basking in the moment and enjoying the moment. But that is going to be the discussion because, unfortunately, how you won will be remembered as the Tyrese Haliburton injury. How you won will be remembered as you defeating the Pacers, you defeating the Nuggets with a depleted roster who didn't have a head coach.
And I think they're better than the 2021 Bucks, and I say that because if you want to go there, I mean Harden and Kyrie and Dinwiddie, and Dinwiddie at that time was a bucket. I mean, he still is, but like that was like a good version of Dinwiddie. Yeah. And I think if they just had one of those guys healthy, they beat the Bucks. And we're talking about Harden and Kyrie. Like, even though it was in previous rounds, I feel like if you talk about all three of those guys, all three of those are more valuable than one Haliburton.
Yeah, for sure.
Because Harden didn't have a lot on his shoulders, so he wasn't really choking in the playoffs at that point. So, yeah, I just think I wouldn't put them as the worst. I'd say like bottom.
I would say bottom echelon.
I would say out of the last 25, they're in the bottom 5.
Bottom 5, yes.
In the last 25, they're in the bottom 5.
I agree. And once again, it's not something we need to be talking about because they are champions. Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy how this happened. But Thunder, NBA champions, not a lot to speak about there. Congrats to you guys. I am extremely proud. I prayed about this so many times, especially after Game 6.
On Wednesday?
We do. We have
14?
I think the 14th.
No, 14 Spurs.
It's somewhere in the lottery, I feel like.
NBA draft lottery.
Also, do we want to talk about KD?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. KD went to the Rockets today. As we said, that's where we wanted to see him go. Explain the trade. What did you love from it, and what did you not like from it?
I think the Rockets fleeced them.
Yes.
I do understand the value of second-round picks as more valuable than it used to be, but I think if you can still keep a lot of firsts, you're fine.
Yeah.
And that they only gave up one of their firsts.
Yeah.
So, and they're in a win-now mode, and they already have a young group of guys. I don't know what a draft pick. I mean, you had the number 3 pick, and he wasn't good enough to play right away. So I don't know what draft picks do for you as of right now.
Absolutely.
And if things go wrong, you have a lot of pieces you could trade for draft picks. So I don't think the notion on the 5 second-round picks is that big of a deal, in my opinion, with all the assets that they have.
Yeah, absolutely.
The fact that the Suns didn't get Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, or Reed Shepherd, or Cam Whitmore, all of these guys that are young that we know for sure would be buckets and kill in other places where they could just go hoop and develop. I think the Suns didn't get the most out of this trade. I felt like the Suns could have got much more. Now, it would be different. We could be looking at it different if they hit on the number 10 pick.
Yes.
They get like a Derek Queen. But once again, it's the number 10 pick. It's not a for sure.
They didn't get a for sure winning basketball player in this trade.
Exactly, because what does Jalen Green do for you? And I see a lot of people saying, well, they're going to trade Jalen Green. I'm here to say, no, they're not.
No.
You don't trade for a 22-year-old shooting guard who could put up 20 a game. Your goal in getting him was hoping he could get maybe 25 and continue to develop as a scorer. And, you know, yes, he wasn't ready this year, but he doesn't have to be on the Suns now. He can take time to develop. You're stuck with Beal. Yeah. And apparently Booker's your franchise guy, so you have 3 shooting guards.
Yes.
I feel like you're wasting a top 5 shooting guard in the league in Booker.
Yes.
A lot of people say 1, but I'll just say top 5.
Yeah.
You're wasting a top 5 shooting guard in the league who is extremely skilled.
Yeah.
And I honestly think keep Jalen Green, let him hoop, but I think if you can somehow find a way, whether it is Beal, to get off Beal, you have to. Because Beal is...
Well, Beal, if you need it... regardless of how
Beal
you
is
get
about to play this year for $52 million, and then the following year he has a player option he can accept for $57 million, and he's going to accept that because if he were to decline it, he would get less than $20 million.
Exactly.
Like, he's just not. That's a scam. 57. Bradley Beal making $57 million is going to be crazy.
I mean, if I'm Phoenix, and I agree with everything you said, so I'm not even going to talk about the trade. If I'm Phoenix, I'm flipping Devin Booker. I mean, you got to flip the whole reset. Devin Booker at this point does nothing for your franchise. He already gave you a finals appearance. It's time to let it go, all right? Because once again, you're in hell with Bradley Beal already, and then Jalen Green has another shooting guard. There's no direction right there, and you're forcing Devin Booker to play a position that is not natural to him, and you expect him to carry you somewhere that he's not going to do. And the West is too stacked right now for him to do that. And regardless of how good he plays, he could average 33, 55% from field goal to 43. You're not making the playoffs. Exactly. The roster's not there. And once again, you already listed off.
And Booker doesn't make guys better around him.
And he doesn't, because he's not a natural point. And when he's allowed to play the 2, Devin Booker, I would probably say, is a top 3 shooting guard in this league. And that boy is nice. And you get Jalen Green, who, once again, his stock is probably the lowest it's been since he's been in the league. And that doesn't mean he's a worse player. It just means after this playoff run, you see obvious offensive. Yeah, you see offensive liabilities. And then you get Dylan Brooks. What does that do for you? And then you get a first round, the 10th pick. Good, but once again, we don't know. There's a world where that doesn't work, especially when your front office has made so many mistakes in the past. You don't know that you're going to draft the right guy.
And like, come on. You're not the best at drafting. And I also think KD's becoming a little underrated.
Yes.
I feel like once again, and I told you this, when these teams get bounced early, even if it's a repeating champion Celtics, certain players and certain teams start to get disrespected, and we just almost forget about them and just call them like losers.
Yeah.
But the Houston Rockets have a top 5 coach in the game. I would say top 3 as of right now.
Okay, I'll say top 5, yeah.
I like him, Spo, and Carlisle. Those are my guys. Okay. That I love in the coaching game. Definitely a top defensive coach. We're talking about defense.
Definitely top 3, I would say, yes.
And
once again,
when we watched the Warriors series, their limitation was perimeter scoring.
Yes.
They could rebound whenever they wanted to.
Yeah.
They could score in the paint whenever they wanted to. They could defend at a high level. All we said is, dang, they just need one perimeter scorer. And you saw Jabari Smith step up and actually at a young age show that he's a playoff riser.
Yes.
Which was crazy to see.
Yes.
That caught me off guard.
Yes.
So when you have that, and he's only going to get better at Jabari Smith is going to be better next year.
With KD's offseason workouts and his intentional shoot. And you've heard about that.
And that's my point. You didn't just get a regular perimeter scorer. You got the best perimeter scorer that you could genuinely think of in the history of basketball.
Yes.
And I just feel like that's going to be dangerous because if KD can just get you 20 to 25, that's efficient. He doesn't have to go for 30. If he can get you 20 to 25, that is just on 8 to 10 shots.
Yeah.
That's all you need. If he can go 5 for 10, if he can go 7 for 14,
honestly,
that's all you need from him. And he's not a trash defender. He's not elite at this level, but you have what I would say the highest upside of all I've seen on the wing defenders in Amen Thompson.
Yes.
Fred Van, all these guys who guard.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that much of a problem. No. So, yeah, I'm loving the Rockets if they can stay healthy next year. And, yeah, you're bringing back Steven Adams as well. I mean, you still have an elite front court, elite bigs. You're going to win the rebounding war all the time.
Every time. You're still deep, too. Especially
and guys like Cam Whitmore is actually going to be able to step into Jalen Green's position. And Cam Whitmore, you're going to start to see that he's one of the elite two-way players at the shooting guard position from a role player perspective.
He's one of our Benedict Mathurin guys where we expect huge breakouts from them very soon.
You could average 15 next year.
Yes, but what I'm excited to see, and you've already said what he could do for the team. I'm excited to see how he develops, and the gripe on Kevin Durant, he hasn't been a very great vocal leader throughout his career. Well, now he has an opportunity in Houston to really develop guys himself with his shooting workouts. Amen Thompson, get him a better offensive bag. Jabari Smith, Cam Whitmore, teaching them certain intricacies in scoring that can help them in their future and not just the Kevin Durant years. And I think the X factor for that team next year is going to be how good can Reed Shepherd be as a backup guard in some of those 20-minute games? And I think he'll be able – he's a smart player. He's a winner. And I think he'll be able to step into that role greatly. And I don't know how you feel about that.
And I'm not saying he's going to be a top 15 player ever, but Alperen Sengun's development each and every year, how he gets better, I think he could be the one on this team.
Yeah.
And I think that is when we have seen KD at his best, when he was on the Warriors, when from a leadership perspective and a production perspective at times, he's a B. He's like the best Robin ever.
Yeah.
Because It wasn't just about numbers. Of course, he was the Finals MVP. People say he's the best player on that Warriors team. But he didn't do the leadership thing. He just got to go there and hoop.
Yeah.
And I think that with Ime Udoka, he's almost the leader of this team. Him, Fred VanVleet.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's already a great culture there. I just think this is an amazing fit. And this was my favorite fit for Kevin Durant. To see it happen 2 days later after I said that.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things. I mean, if Sengun can develop into a 24, 25 point per game. I mean, he already averaged 20 this year. Yeah. He's a top rebounder in the NBA. Very efficient. And then Amen Thompson just unlocks himself. I mean, the things he can do he's the definition of an elite slasher.
Absolutely.
And to have that elite slashing, elite cutting backdoor for lobs, having Steven Adams and Alperen Sengun that are pretty much you're never going to lose the rebounding war.
No.
Fred VanVleet being a playoff riser and a good playoff point guard. I just think this is
Amen Thompson, Tari Eason.
This is a scary team. And the fact that the Suns didn't get any of those young guys that I just named before is
they walked away with Dylan Brooks. Bro.
I would like to see Reed Shepherd play in Summer League and just dominate.
Yes, I agree.
And he will. He did last year.
Yeah,
he's nice.
How do you walk away from this trade with just Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green? You have to get 2 young guys. Dylan Brooks should not have been in the equation, in my opinion. Yeah. And he helped. He's a good player.
But once again, when you talk about franchises overreacting and running away, I think if the Suns, kind of how we talked about with the Grizzlies making a trade, or when they lost Dylan Brooks and players like that, I think if they would have just kept that young core, obviously you got to get rid of CP3 because he's too old. Yeah. If you would have kept Bridges, if you would have kept Booker, if you would have kept Ayton as much as people didn't like him, that core right now would not be terrible.
It wouldn't be horrible at all.
You'd probably be a piece away.
And you'd be better than you are right now. That would be for sure.
For sure.
So, thank you guys for tuning in. Congrats to the Oklahoma City Thunder once again for winning. Also, congrats to the Indiana Pacers for a great season. And
facts.
Yes, we will be giving a mock draft
tomorrow.
That will be dropping either tomorrow or Tuesday. We'll be doing it tomorrow. So thank you guys for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, and peace out.